Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about 5-7 indirect measurement today. Indirect measurement, as you can see, we open right up with 4 warm-ups that are proportions because we're going to be creating some more proportions today. All right, so what I want you to do is try these 4 warm-ups in your notes and see how you do. All right, ready, go. All right, here we go. So we have 3/5 is equal to x over 75. How do you solve these proportions? Well, first things first, we need to cross multiply. Cross multiply on each side. So when you take 75 and you multiply by 3, you get 225. On the other side, you get 5x. When you divide by 5 on each side, your answer is going to equal 45. 45, 45. Okay, 45. Number 2, again, cross multiply all the way across. Okay, so when you do this, you get 48 is equal to 2.4x. Then you have to take 48 and divide by 2.4. Okay, what do you do when you divide by 2.4 on each side? Your answer, x equals 20. Bottom 2, 3 and 4. 3 and 4. Cross multiply. You get 54 is equal to 27x. Ooh, not 2x. 27x. Divide by 27. Divide by 27. X is equal to what? 2. Then, last but not least, we have the last one, which is, again, cross multiply. 7x is equal to 28. 28. 8 times 3.5 is 28. Divide by 7 on both sides. X is equal to 28. All right. I'm hoping those went fantastic. We've talked about proportions in the past. Today, what we are going to do is deal with measures and finding those measures indirectly by using the different proportions, okay, which is the same thing as your properties of similar figures. So when you think about similar figures, we are going to be talking about those today, and that will directly relate to a proportion, which will directly relate to finding an indirect measurement. Direct, indirect. Okay, here we are, indirect measurement. So pause the video right now, write this down in your notes, and go. Okay, so it says indirect measurement is a way of using similar figures and proportions to find a measure. This is used when distances cannot be measured directly. So it's not like you can just pull out a tape measure and measure across a lake. That might be a little bit tougher. Or pull out one of those, a bunch of yardsticks and crawl up a flagpole. Could you do that? Yes. Would it work? Yes. Would it be a pain in the butt? Yes. Okay, so let's use indirect measurement. All right, so triangles DEF and GHI are similar. You're going to find the length of side HI. You're going to find the length of hi. Pause now, write this down, and then I will explain. All right, so as you look at this problem, the one thing that you are going to have to realize is that you are going to have to come up with a proportion. Okay, this proportion needs to have similar, or needs to have the same ratio on each side, meaning needs to have the same setup. Okay, so the way I write my ratios, I am going to write my small height over my small hypotenuse. We're going to call that a hypotenuse. And we're going to set that equal to my big height, that does say big, over my big hypotenuse. What that allows me to do, notice we have the same ratio of height over hypotenuse, height over hypotenuse. You may see another proportion that'll work, and there are several proportions that you can come up with. This is just an example of one and how you would set it up. Okay, so again, height over hypotenuse on each side. So if I look at my small triangle, my height is 2 inches. My hypotenuse is 7 inches. It's not, we'll make it in that right there. Now we have a hypotenuse. We'll say that they are 90-degree angles. Okay, so 2 inches over 7 inches is equal to 8 inches over x inches. I want you to be able to set up this proportion. This proportion is absolutely vital. So on your homework later on, what's going to happen is you may be able to find the measurement right away, but I want you to come up with a proportion, because this isn't just about finding the answer. It's not exactly 100% about finding the answer. The other part about it is, can you come up with a proportion? Writing a proportion is equally important as the answer. So I wrote my proportion. Now I'm going to solve. I get 2x cross multiply is equal to 56. Then divide by 2. X is equal to 28 inches. The important piece is, notice I set up my proportion. I had the same ratio on both sides. If you look up here, same ratio on both sides. Set up my proportion, solve it by cross multiplying. All right? All right. Here's the next problem. All right, so you have this written down or on your notes here. It says a 30-foot building casts a shadow that is 75 feet long. A nearby tree casts a shadow that is 35 feet long. Okay, we need to figure out how tall is the tree. A couple of pieces of information that you need to know. You need to know that you're finding the height of the tree. You also know the building shadow, you know the height of the building, you also know the length of the tree's shadow. So what you do here is draw a picture. So we're going to draw a picture of what this is. Your picture would look like this. Oh, look at that, man. I am a great drawer. Look at that. Just did all that myself. Good job, Mr. Sheeman. High five. All right. So we drew this diagram. Notice this diagram is very, very, very similar to the last problem we just did. Okay, again, we are going to put this into a proportion. Notice, if you can see this, it almost forms a 90-degree angle. Look at that. 90-degree angle. Look at this. 90-degree angle. 90-degree triangle. A right triangle. Okay, just like the last problem. Okay, so set it up as a proportion. So pause now, set it up, see what you come up with. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put height over shadow on one side, and on the other I'm going to do height over shadow. You may have done something different. Don't change your answer right now. We'll see how you did. See how you came up with an answer. So my height of the building is 30. Shadow of the building is 75 feet. Okay. Height of my tree is h. I don't know what that is. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Okay. The shadow of my tree is 35 feet. Okay, so from here, now I know how to solve. Okay, cross multiply and solve. So you need to take 30 and multiply it by 35. You get 1,050 is equal to 75h. How do you solve for h? Divide by 75. Divide by 75. Remember, whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. When you divide by 75, your answer is going to be 14 feet. Now, think about that. Does that make sense? And my answer would be yes. Because if you look at the building, this building shadow is 75 feet, right? When we look at the height of the building, it's 30 feet. Notice that height of the building is about a little less than half than the shadow of the building. Same thing with your tree. 35 is our shadow. If I plugged in 14 feet here, 14 feet is a little less than half of 35. Okay, so it does make sense here. Now, if you had to have a huge number, like 1,050, notice that tree's not going to be 1,050 feet high. So make sure that your answers make sense. Don't forget, label. Awesome. Last problem of the day. Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to pause this video, write down in your notes this example, and give it a shot to answer it. See what you would come up with for your answer. and go. All right, so we are figuring out how wide that river is, how wide it is, that basically this height of this triangle. Now, if I were to break up these two triangles, break them up. I notice it gave us two triangles. I'm going to break this up. One triangle would look like this, right? Triangle W, this is 7 meters. The second triangle looks like this. I'm just going to make it a little bit easier. 5 meters on the bottom, 5.7 meters tall. We don't know this hypotenuse. We don't know that far side. Don't know that. But again, we can set up a proportion. So my proportion would look similar to this. W over 7 is equal to 5.7 over 5. Okay? Again, setting up my proportion makes it nice and easy. Cross multiply, I get 5W is equal to, then you take 5.7 times 7, you will get 39.9. How do you solve for W? Divide by 5, divide by 5. Okay, your answer is going to be 7.98 meters. Okay, biggest thing, set up a proportion with what you know, set it up with the information that you know, cross multiply, and solve. Okay, just like proportions we've been talking about before, just now we need to create our own proportions. All right, fantastic. Have a wonderful day. I will see you later. Bye.